Hello, my name's Matt and this is Pixel Burn, where I take a look at some of the more interesting things that happened in gaming this week. And the Xbox One. Yes, like last week's episode, in which I talked about the PS4 first, I'm going to get the big topic out of the way and then move on to all the slightly smaller topics. So, let's talk Xbone. Microsoft's own 8th generation console hit stores on Friday in North America and some parts of Europe, technically putting it a week ahead of the European launch of the PS4. It also came out in Australia, as well as Brazil, where it's significantly cheaper than the PS4, because Brazil has whopping huge import charges. Import charges Microsoft craftily got around by actually manufacturing Brazilian Xbones locally, which Sony didn't do with the PS4. Funnily enough, Sony didn't do it with the PS3 either, preferring instead to suggest people get a second job to afford it. Japan is again left out in the cold by having to wait until 2014 before the Xbox is released over there. Although I doubt many Japanese gamers are all that cut up about it. The Xbox brand has never been particularly big in Japan, despite Microsoft's best attempts at marketing. Like the PS4, the console itself and its games are technically region free, although the Kinect voice controls are not. So if you live in Belgium, Denmark, Finland, the Netherlands, Norway, Russia, Sweden and Switzerland, you'll have to know either French, German or English to get some use out of a European Xbox One. I was lucky enough to get an Xbox One early, although the model I picked up is the Australian one, which requires a bit more linguistic flexibility in order to get running properly. Observe. Xbox on, you Bonza. Oh well, at least I don't have to sell one of my kidneys to buy games for it. Speaking of which, the Xbox One launch lineup is about on par with PS4's and includes standard FIFA Creed, Battlefield, Flag, Ghosts of Duty. Among the ex-bonafide exclusives in Microsoft's tent is Dead Rising 3, which wowed everyone at E3 with utterly horrendous frame rates and amazing uses of the colour brown. Since then it's got some more colour in its cheeks and learned to move a bit quicker, which are pretty vital qualities in a zombie apocalypse of this scale. Dead Rising 3 takes place in a whopping great open world reportedly bigger than Dead Rising 1 and 2 combined. Weird vehicles you can drive around in and even combine with other vehicles to create ludicrous zombie massacring death machines. Dead Rising 2's weapon crafting system also makes a return, albeit without the need to find a workbench, so you can strap chainsaws to a rake handle while being chased by a zombie horde, then turn around and cut them to bits. There are reports of frame rates dropping as low as 14 frames per second, with 20 to 24 being the average, and the resolution is only 720p, but if you can live with that, then you're in for as much dumb fun as the previous Dead Rising games. Dead Rising 3 is available in all launch regions except for Germany, because blood, guts, antiquated censorship laws und so weiter. Meine Mitfühlen, mein Freunde Deutsch. For fans of Panzer Dragoon, which I've never played and thus never understood the love for, there's Crimson Dragon, in which you play a person who rides a dragon on a planet full of the scaly buggers. It's an on-rail shooter with 6 types of dragon to fly and level up, and that's about all I know really. Reviews have been mixed to positive, but if you really liked Panzer Dragoon and you really like dragons, I mean really like dragons, then you might like Crimson Dragon. It's budget priced too, so it won't break the bank. Another game that pokes everyone's nostalgia buttons except mine is Killer Instinct. I got the opportunity to play this early at this year's Eurogamer Expo and it felt pretty solid, with a zippy frame rate and decent mechanics. I played as Sabrewulf of course, because Sabrewulf was one of my favourite ZX Spectrum games. Killer Instinct didn't really feel like anything to write home about though, and there were only 4 characters to choose from at the time. As of launch it only has 2 more than that, bringing the total up to 6, with 2 more due later for a total of 8, which feels like a depressingly small roster for a fighting game nowadays. I mean, the original Street Fighter II The World Warrior had only 8 characters, and that was back in 1991. Killer Instinct is technically free to play so long as you don't mind playing as only one character. You can pay to unlock other characters individually or buy the whole kit and caboodle for about $20 Yankee dollars. If you're desperate for some kicky punchy fighty on your spanking new console, there's pretty much all you've got for the moment other than Fighter Within, which is a Kinect only title. Need I say more? Then there's Rise Son of Rome, or Rise God of Rome Total War as I like to call it, because I like to think I'm witty, in which you play as a Roman centurion called Marius Titus, father to a murdered son, husband to a murdered wife, who will have his revenge in this QuickTime event or the next. Visually it's very pretty, and had it been a pack-in it would be the game to show off your new console to friends with. As a full retail product however, it's one of the weaker titles in the Xbox One's launch lineup. Finally, there's Forza Motorsport 5 for people who like motorsports. This sort of thing isn't really my cup of tea personally, but Forza 5 has received generally positive reviews, so if you like cars and Top Gear, this is probably the launch game for you. As far as AAA launch exclusives go, it's a slightly bigger selection than the PS4, with Dead Rising 3 being my own personal choice if I was to go and get an Xbox One right now. As always, the usual caveats about launch lineup supplies. I mean, it's not like anyone else was expecting anything more, right? Right? Oh yeah, Watch Dogs. In other news, Atlus decided to announce Persona 5 just as I'd finished writing the script for this episode. The jerks. And by announce, I mean that's literally all they've done via this teaser trailer, showing balls and chains attached to a bunch of chairs. That's all there is to it really, chairs in bondage and a title. It might have an all-new cast or have characters returning from previous games, we don't know, it's that vague. Unlike this trailer for Persona Q Shadow of the Labyrinth for 3DS, which clearly shows the cast of Persona 3 and Persona 4 looking all cute and little, or chibi style as all the cool kids hopped up on E-numbers with tutti frutti hair call it these days. The trailer is in Japanese of course, though I have no idea what anybody is saying, but it does make me want to get a 3DS. Atlus also announced a PS3 sequel to Persona 4 Arena called Persona 4 Ultimax Ultra Suplex Hold. And if you think that's a ridiculous title, Persona 4 Arena's original Japanese title was Persona 4 The Ultimate in Mayonaki Arena. So this one will most likely also get a slight name change if it makes its way over to the West. Meanwhile, a version of it will be hitting Japanese arcades sometime next week. The last Persona game announced is one that will most probably stay in Japan. Persona 4 Dancing All Night for the Vita looks like your basic rhythm game, only it's got Persona characters in it. At least I think that's what it is. I watched this trailer 3 bloody times now and I still have no sodding idea what's going on. All I do know is it's got
Best Hit Persona sound
and
P-Sound action.
that it's
Unbelievable.
and that apparently I should.
Yo, check it out.
Yeah, I'll pass, thanks.
Don't miss it, baby.
No, I think I'll definitely give this one a miss. All 4 games are due out in Japan in 2014, and since Atlus actually puts a decent amount of effort into translating their games for Western audiences, we'll undoubtedly have to wait a fair while longer. The venerable classic Half-Life turned 15 years old this week, which puts it at just under half my age, and makes me even more depressed about my slow, inexorable shuffle towards the grave. To coincide with this, the team behind Black Mesa, a completely free recreation of the original Half-Life in the Source engine, have announced the retail version is coming to Steam. No firm release date has been given, but the dev team says it'll be soon. Although given how long Black Mesa took to come out, that could be anywhere between a month or 1,000 years. Now before you all scream about the mod team being money-grubbing bastards or something equally preposterous, you'll still be able to play Black Mesa for free. In fact, there'll be a new free version available on Steam too. Basically, the paid version will be a way for people to reward the Black Mesa team for their, quite frankly, sterling work. It'll also have some features the free version can't for various technical reasons. Black Mesa is a very faithful, sometimes too faithful, recreation of the original Half-Life and a great introduction for people who've never played it. Sadly, it's still missing the last third of the original game, set in an alien dimension full of floating platforms you have to jump between, but that was the worst part of Half-Life anyway, so you're not really missing much, and the dev team are working on much less annoying maps to replace them with anyway. And finally, on a topic vaguely related to first-person shooters, the most momentous news for me this week was that John Carmack, one of the original creators of Doom, has left id Software. Considering he joined Oculus VR back in August as Chief Technical Officer, it's a safe bet he's decided to focus on that full time, although it hasn't officially been confirmed. All we know right now is that he's no longer at id. Since the early days of Doom and Wolfenstein 3D, Carmack had always been the techie bloke crunching code into the wee hours and generally finding new crazy efficient ways to do things with numbers. He's the sort of person who'd write a program that properly randomises his MP3 playlist, in between building space rockets and designing android brains. If Carmack has moved to Oculus VR full time, then that's very good news for the Oculus Rift. It still has a fair number of technical hurdles to overcome, and if I had to put money on anyone to fix them, then Carmack would be my number one choice. That's all for this episode of Pixel Burn. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it, or at the very least found it somewhat vaguely tolerable. If you didn't enjoy it, well, congratulations on watching this far. You can go now. What do you think of the Xbox One? Not impressed then?